predicting 20,000 in gold, $20,000 gold, $500 silver. Copper, who knows, could go to $20 or more from, I'm predicting $6 pre-bust. So this year, I think most of it will be contained next year. It'll be massive bank failures around the world. We'll have them here, but not like 2008-9, because our banks are in better shape today. They're not as leveraged as they were then. I'm predicting we'll probably see 25% inflation by the end of the decade in the U.S.
Prediction shows a dramatic rise in precious metals, forecasting gold to hit $20,000, silver at $500, and copper possibly reaching $20 or more, up from $6 pre-crisis levels. They expect gold to reach $7,000 this year, with potential for even higher prices next year. They also foresee massive bank failures worldwide, although not as severe in the U.S. compared to 2008 and 2009 due to better bank stability. Inflation in the U.S. could reach 25% by the decade's end. David Hunter discusses Jerome Powell's reluctance to return to past Federal Reserve policies like zero interest rates and aggressive money printing, emphasizing his aim to avoid being seen as supporting the market through a Fed put. Despite his intentions, Powell's policy decisions are hindered by time lags in economic data, often causing the Fed to over-tighten and trigger deeper recessions before pivoting sharply, which contributes to boom-bust cycles. The speaker believes that the current leverage in the financial system is far greater than during 2008 and 2009, and that the Fed's current high rates, far above inflation and market rates, may result in a much worse economic downturn within the next 6 to 9 months. The speaker, David Hunter, an investment strategist and market analyst known for his bold economic forecasts, explains that derivatives and debt are forms of leverage that amplify market movements, enhancing gains on the way up and worsening losses on the way down. High leverage causes downturns to be faster and more severe, leading the speaker to predict a global bust, larger than a recession, resembling a depression, but unfolding rapidly. They anticipate significant global bank failures next year. Central banks are still focused on fighting past inflation instead of anticipating deflation ahead, leading them to respond too slowly to emerging crises. The speaker predicts a delayed response from the Fed and other central banks, resulting in significant financial damage. They foresee a massive $20 trillion balance sheet expansion by the Fed, and proportionate actions globally, far exceeding past responses like the $5 trillion during the 2020 pandemic. As you watch these clips, we encourage you to take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you're instantly alerted whenever we post new content. We appreciate your support and hope you enjoy the video.
We've heard from Powell for several years now say he does not want to go back to the policies of the past where we had zero rate policies and printed money like crazy. He does not want to be the owner of the Fed put. He does not want to support the market that way. So they're trying to be very deliberate about policy. He's been on record as saying he doesn't want to go back to QE. I think that's, we're not very far from that not happening. We are going to see QE. The problem is there are leads and lags to policy, and they're they're quite long. So he's looking at backward-looking data. By the time he understands that he went too far, it's too late. And we've seen this every cycle with every Fed chairman and every FOMC committee. Leads and lags cause them problems. So they always stay the party too long on the tight side, create deeper recessions than they plan to, and then go the other way in a big way and create a boom. So we get these boom bust cycles. The problem now is that we have so much more leverage than we even had in 2008-9. I mean, 2008-9 we were very leveraged, but we're talking about massive leverage beyond anything this world has ever seen before. When things turn down, and if the Fed, in my opinion, Fed's over tightened, they've stayed too long on the tight side. Their rates right now are so far above the inflation rate and above even the market rates. 2-year rates. We're the tightest we've been in this whole cycle, even though they're talking about starting to cut rates. So that means, And it's not going to necessarily be clear to them now, but in the next 6 months, you're going to see, I think, or 6, 9 months, that the economy's a lot worse off than we thought. Their banks are in worse shape. Canada, Australia, Asia, there's a lot of risk out there, and it will domino across the world. What's happening here is happening around the world. The central banks are overly, they're trying to fight the war of inflation that's behind them, and not understanding the risk of deflation that's right ahead of them. So that's a long way of saying I think the Fed is going to be slow to respond. They don't want to do QE, so they're going to drag their feet. And by dragging their feet, with leverage in the system like it is, they'll come in too late. We'll already see the damage. And you will see, in my opinion, something like 20 trillion in balance sheet expansion for the Fed, and similar around the world proportionally, not the same numbers, but proportionally. So we did 5 trillion in response to the pandemic, right, back in 2020. I'm talking about 4 times that number, and that number was way off the rails. We had never done anything like that before. So I'm talking about numbers that are mind-boggling. I mean, $20 trillion in new money, but that's what I think is going to take, along with the other central banks, to stop a free-falling financial system. So we got a taste of it in 2008-9, right? We saw what, our banks were basically down to zero, Citibank, et cetera. We got a taste of how close we came, but they pulled us back from the edge because we've learned the lesson we learned, which is, we shouldn't be doing all the, what we did the last decade of all this money printing and all this 0% policy, because that's the lesson they learned. They're going to be slow to react, and that extra time it takes to react, combined with that leverage in the system, combined with the fragility that's been built in because of the pandemic. There's still a lot of problems under the surface. I think we crater. I mean, we almost saw it in 2008-9. We had GE almost fail. The commercial paper market was frozen, and they reacted just in time to save the system.
David Hunter predicts that if inflation reaches 20 to 25%, Treasury bill rates could rise to similar levels, making debt servicing untenable given the potential surge in U.S. government debt from $35 trillion to over $50 trillion. They foresee a severe market cycle with an 80% bear market drop following a top, leading to a cyclical bull market driven by massive money creation, but without returning to previous highs. Rising interest rates will push down market valuations, reversing the decades-long trend of increasing price-to-earnings multiples. By the late 2020s, higher rates will squeeze markets, but commodities will thrive, potentially leading to a supercycle with oil reaching $500 per barrel by the decade's end. Commodity producers are expected to perform well, but those passively invested in broad indexes like the S&P will struggle, as these indexes may decline or stagnate, failing to keep up with inflation. He also predicts that during the coming bust, commodities will see sharp declines. Copper could drop from $6 to $1, natural gas may fall below $1, and oil could hit $30. Gold is expected to rise to $3,000, possibly higher, and silver to $75 before the downturn, but both could experience significant pullbacks afterward. Gold might drop back to $2,100 or slightly higher, while silver could lose up to 2/3 of its gains due to its cyclical nature. Overall, real commodities may suffer heavily as global demand plummets during the bust. Let's have a look back to the interview.
If we get 25% inflation or anything close to 20% inflation, you're going to have Treasury bill rates up near that same, 20% anyway, and long bond could be, between 15 and 20%. When you've got the kind of debt servicing requirements we have today, and then keep in mind, I'm talking about 20 trillion in new money. That 20 trillion in new money will be pretty much matched by new fiscal, meaning another 20 trillion in debt, new debt. So, we're talking about 35 trillion in just U.S. government debt right now. That could grow to, over 50. We can't service it at 5%. How are we going to service it at 15%? or 20%, So, so it's a dire story down the road, but in the meantime, you're going to have first the bust, first the market running to this top, the parabolic run up, then a bust, and I think an 80% bear market peak to trough. Then from there, you'll have a cyclical bull market because of all the money created. So you can, out of the bottom, if let's just use my number on the S&P of 7,000. If we just for an example, if we do hit 7,000 and have an 80% bear market, that takes you down to 1,400. You could have a triple or quadruple out of the bottom because of all that money created. So a new cyclical bull market, commodities, it will be a commodity super cycle. Commodities will go through the roof. I'm predicting $500 oil by the end of the decade. Late this decade, early next. Predicting $20,000 gold, $500 silver. Copper, who knows, could go to $20 or more from, I'm predicting $6 pre-bust. So this year, natural gas will go back towards $1 or below, probably. Oil, I'm predicting $30 oil in the bust next year. Gold, I think I'm forecasting gold to 3,000, and I think I'm going to raise my target on that pretty soon. And I'm forecasting $75 silver. Those are pre-bust targets, so that means sometime between now and first quarter next year. They don't have to top out right when the market tops out. They could extend for a few months, but I'm predicting pretty good runs here in metals. From there, if silver goes to 75, it's a more cyclically based commodity, right, than gold. So silver might fall all the way back to here. It could fall give up 2/3 of it. I don't know. Might be 50%, might be 2/3. But gold, on the other hand, has other, it has some flight to safety characteristics to it and things. So gold might, if it, let's say I raise my target. Well, let's just use 3,000, which is my target now. If it's 3,000, it might fall back to where it broke out at 2,100, something like that. If we go beyond 3,000 to 34 or 500, it might only fall back to 2,500, something like that. So it'll fall and fall pretty hard, but not nearly as much as the equity market, I think, is the case. Whereas the real commodities, I think, can get hit very hard because a global bust means demand's going to be falling through the floor.
Severe economic turmoil driven by high leverage, delayed central bank responses, and extreme market cycles, resulting in volatile commodities and potential financial system instability. While precious metals and commodities could see dramatic price swings, broader markets and passive investments are likely to struggle significantly in the face of unprecedented economic challenges. What are the speaker's main reasons for predicting severe market downturns and a global economic bust? How does the speaker expect commodities like gold, silver, and oil to perform during the predicted market cycle? Share your thoughts on David's predictions in the comment section below. Also, ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Until next time.